Well, that was a movie.
Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm giving my first thoughts on Talk to Me, the new horror movie that's been distributed by A24. I say distributed because there was a buttload of production companies involved with this movie, and whenever there's more than 2 or 3 cards at the beginning of the movie, I start laughing and I think about that Family Guy clip.
Oh, I bet that's a sea monster. Oh, that's not the movie. Yeah, I think I heard of them. Here we go. Movie! Well, now that seems intentionally misleading. All right, someone's coming to town. Oh, for crying out loud.
They just kept going. It just kept going and going. There was so many, so I had to look it up. It says it was produced by Causeway Films, Bankside Films, Talk to Me Holdings, which I don't think that they actually even mentioned in the opening of this. Maslow Entertainment, Umbrella Entertainment, and Ahi Films are also credited as distributing it. But then, of course, also A24 distributed it. And it also said something about Australia in there. So that's at least 8 production title cards that we got at the beginning of this movie, and it was a lot. But anyway, so it's a new horror film. It was written, directed by the Philippou brothers, Danny and Michael. They're newcomers as far as I know, this is their first theatrically released movie, and it was starring newcomer Sophie Wilde. I checked on IMDb, she has some other credits, but this was like one of only a couple. And then it was also starring, probably the most notable or most recognizable face in this movie is Miranda Otto, who's most known for playing Éowyn in Lord of the Rings, and of course then a couple other things. Other than that, it was mainly people I didn't recognize at all. This movie was interesting. This is part of that new wave, I felt like, of these horror movies by A24 and other production companies, kind of in the same vein as like Smile or Night House, stuff like that, where it's a little bit smarter than the horror movies we've been getting for a long time. I wouldn't say that this was as artsy as, you know, like the Babadooks and the Hereditaries and Midsommers. This is definitely more appealing to a wider audience than that, but I will say that this movie is also probably too slow-paced to appeal to everybody. I'm not sure what the rating is right now, but I'm assuming it's going to end up in the 6s probably, because I think a lot of people are going to love it and a lot of people are going to be disappointed by it, because as far as the scares go, some of them were kind of lacking. Like, I was much more thrilled by movies like Smile and The Night House and stuff like that. But I will say at times this was written better. Like, this was written better to me than Smile. I thought Smile was scarier. I thought Smile was a lot more thrilling, but I thought this was better, especially the ending in the writing. I thought the ending of this was phenomenal. I thought it actually kind of brought it together. I wasn't sure how I felt about this movie until the ending, whereas in Smile, I loved the movie until the ending. The ending really fell off and was the worst part, by far. I don't want to say that the writing was perfect. Like, there was definitely some flaws. If you don't know what the plot of this movie is, they've got this hand that if you grab it and you say, "Talk to me," and then say, "I welcome you in," then you see this dead person, and then you welcome the spirit into you, and then for the next 90 seconds they control you, and then you have to break contact, blow out the candle, and then that closes the door on the evil spirit, or spirit. It doesn't have to be evil. There's a lot to do with this that's like shown in this movie through like this Gen Z atmosphere. Like, it's this party atmosphere, it's a social media thing, and so people do it because they think it's fun. They never really sell it on that point, though. There's a montage after a couple of times where they show everybody doing it, and then it seems fun, but the first time they do it, it's shown to be horrifying for the main character, and then she's like, "Oh, I want to do it again, it was such an amazing experience." And it's like, why do you want to do that? So there's certain things in the writing where it's like, that wasn't sold to you, but the ending wraps things up so well and becomes so elevated compared to the rest of the movie that I just left the theater like, oh, okay, maybe I did like that movie, whereas if it had ended the more predictable way, I don't think I would have. So I actually really did enjoy the ending of this movie, which helped me enjoy the rest of the movie as well. But like I said, it is a little bit more boring. Like, I don't think people that like the average horror movie are going to like this one as much as Smile, because it's a little bit slower paced, and the scares, like, I didn't jump at all during this movie, and like I jump easily. Even if I'm not scared by something, it's easy to make me jump at a jump scare, and I didn't really jump at anything, I don't think. I think maybe there was actually one point where she smacked herself in the face, and this wasn't like because of a demon, this wasn't because of a spirit, she just smacked herself in the face, and that made me jump. But as far as actual legitimate scares in the movie, I didn't jump. So it wasn't the most scary horror movie, the most horrifying horror movie, but it's also not so unscary that it doesn't work as a whole. It just wasn't enough to drive it, and it was the ideas of this movie that actually made this movie good to me. It made it interesting to me, and so this movie ends up, to me, being more interesting than scary. So if those are the kind of horror movies you like, then I think you'll be able to enjoy it. It's more of like, ooh, this will be fun to think about, than, oh, this is gonna keep me up at night. It's not quite that kind of movie. I did enjoy it. I will say that there are, I know I already touched on one flaw, but another flaw is the characters are kind of hard to be interested in. The main character in particular is just not a good person. I think they even say in the trailer where it's like, this is the anniversary of her mom dying, and she uses that to manipulate her friend to hang out with her who didn't want to hang out with her then. She was trying to do something else, and she's like, come on, it's the anniversary, I just want to forget about it, so like, you have to, like, and it was just not a nice person, not a good person. And she's the main character, and then her friend is a little bit more sympathetic, but still not very likable. Honestly, her best friend's younger brother was the only character I really liked in this movie. I guess their mother as well, which was the Miranda Otto character, was funny. Like, they had really good writing when it came to the dialogue between the mother and anybody else. Just the whole family dynamic was extremely well written. But yeah, I didn't really care about the characters that I think I was supposed to, and so that kind of also made the scares less impactful. But like I said, the ending was so interesting to me, and unfortunately I can't talk about that until the spoilers, but the ending was intriguing to me in a way that made me actually want to watch the movie again. Whereas if you had cut off the movie 20 minutes earlier, I wouldn't have said that. I would have been like, oh, that was fun but forgettable, and I would have moved on. But the ending is memorable, and like I said, I do think I will be thinking about it. It is something that I want to keep thinking about. So, you know, whenever you come across that in a movie, that gets you excited, because for the longest time during this movie, I was worried that this is, you know, the end of an era. We've had this resurgence in these horror movies, and I've loved every second of it, from Smile to The Night House, Antlers, all these movies that are like allegorical horror is making such a strong appearance on all of my favorite movies lists of the past few years. And I was like I came into this movie hoping that this would be on this list, but now it just doesn't seem like, it seems like the quality is lacking here. It's just dropping off. And then the ending proved me wrong, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe this will make the list. But then come to think of it, honestly, I don't know if this is an allegorical horror. It could be. I don't know that, though. It could just meant to be taken literally, which is, you know, demon, spirit, possession, stuff like that. Or I do have a theory that this could be an allegory for, like, drug use and stuff. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be or not. I can't really tell. It could also be, you know, a lot of them have to do with mental health and depression and stuff like that. So it could be that. Not sure if it is that. Regardless, it's enjoyable either way. It's not the best either, though. Like I said, it was good. You could make the debate that it's better than Smile, because even though it's not as scary or horrifying as that, because the ending is so well done and so different. Like, the ending of Smile was so disappointing because how stereotypical it went and how boring that was. You know, you just reverted to this awful looking monster that wasn't scary. This doesn't do this. This actually elevates and becomes the best version of itself in the final moments. So you could argue that it's better than that. I would still take Antlers and Night House and stuff like that over it personally, but it's still, you know, at the end of the day, I'm probably gonna give it like a upper 6s, lower 7s, somewhere in there, like a soft 7 maybe. I enjoyed it. Not saying it's gonna make the end of the year list, but it stands a chance. I have to think about it more. But the thing is, I'm enjoying thinking about it. I'm enjoying the idea of this movie. So that's promising. That's what you want with movies like this. I don't know that there's any scary moment in this movie that is going to stick out in my memory, but the idea of the whole is going to stick out. And honestly, frankly, the dialogue between characters, which was a lot of fun. Like, I did have a very amused crowd, a crowd that was ready to laugh at anything, but there was a lot of dialogue moments, a lot of offbeat moments that had everybody laughing, and that was enjoyable. And so, frankly, I'm going to be thinking about a couple of those moments as well. So yeah, honestly, I do recommend it. I don't think, like I said, it was the scariest movie in the world, but it was definitely an interesting movie. So if that's something you're interested in, if you enjoy movies that just kind of make you think about what they're trying to say and what they're trying to convey through, you know, horror imagery, then I think you will enjoy it. It's just, you know, it's not The Exorcist. That's what I had to think without spoilers. I am going to get into spoilers now for just a little bit, so if you want to hang out for that, please do, but also if you don't, please click away, go watch it, come back, and we can talk about it then. Thanks, guys. Bye. So, spoilers. So the reason that I was starting to think that this might be an allegory is kind of how things wrap up at the end. Well, I guess the whole time, because like the whole thing is like it's a party atmosphere, and the way that they're interacting with it is like it's a drug, you know. It's fun for a little bit, but then it gets bad, it gets scary real fast, but then you're hooked to it. You can't do it too much or you're hooked to it. So like that just seems like a drug, you know. And she does it, and they keep doing it, and she ends up coming in contact with who she believes is her mother. And so she's like, well, then I have to keep doing it because her mother's dead and she needs to know more about her mother. And so, you know, that is something that is sympathetic. You empathize with the character a little bit, even if you don't really care about the character a whole lot. Like I said, she just wasn't a good character. You don't really like her, but you empathize with her. So you're like, okay, I can go along with this. I can understand it. But then they start talking about it and they say, well, you have to be careful because they believe that these spirits aren't actually the people. They're just pretending to be the people. But then this movie is smart enough to then try to trick you a little bit and say, okay, well, maybe not all of them are real, but some of the spirits are good. Some of them are who they say they are. So her mother is clearly her, obviously, because she's having a positive interaction with her, but this other spirit is lying. She has this interaction with her dad that contradicts what her spirit of her mom said. So he reveals to her that he's got this suicide note from the mom, but when she talked to the spirit of her mom, the spirit said, oh, I didn't try to kill myself, it was an accident. And so it's like there's a contradiction, and she chooses to believe the spirit that is lying to her because it's the truth that she wants to be, or it's the lie that she wants to be true. It's the version of the story that she wants to be real. And so the spirit ends up convincing her that her dad, who is trying to break through the door, isn't actually her dad, it's an evil spirit. And so she grabs the scissors to defend herself and ends up stabbing him. But then it's, at least how I take it, it was actually her dad the whole time. The way that they film it is interesting, and this is why it's thought-provoking, because they're showing two versions of the dad, and there's one on the couch who's the real one, and he's innocently just, you know, messing around with something, and then there's the evil spirit that is at the door trying to barge in. And so then that version tackles her, and she's fighting, reaching for the scissors. Meanwhile, the real dad is coming, trying to save her, and right as he throws off the demon spirit thing is when she grabs the scissors and stabs. So she accidentally stabs him instead of the fake one. And so then you're like, oh no. But I think, based on how the movie's portraying these events, that is her illusion. That is the illusion that is presented to her, because earlier in the movie, she's having a moment where she sees this evil spirit in the room with her and the guy she likes, and the spirit comes over and starts like sucking on his toes, which was a hilarious moment. But then she's trying to wake him up, and finally he does wake up, and when he looks down, it's her all over his foot. Not the evil spirit. So it's like there's a lot of moments in this movie that are explained by that, where, okay, it's her illusion, which kind of goes into possible, you know, being under the influence of drugs or something, and so you're not seeing things for how they really are, or something like in Smile or The Night House or whatever, where it's depression, it's mental illness telling you what's happening. Because similarly, at the end of the movie, she is going to kill Riley, who's the younger brother of the best friend, because the spirits have convinced her that that is the only way to help him, because he has been attacked by these spirits. He is under their power and cannot get free, so might as well just kill him, because then he'll be put out of his misery. So that's what she's trying to do. And so she's got this evil spirit, she thinks, in the wheelchair, and she's about to dump him over this ledge onto the freeway, so he'll get run over by cars, because that's easier than stabbing him with the scissors, which was her original plan. I don't know why she pivoted to do that, but whatever. And then her mother, supposedly, once again, is with her, and you can tell by the dialogue she uses, because she says, yes, give him to me, then he'll be with me forever, because that is the whole thing the spirits want. The spirit is trying to trick her into doing this, so this is all an illusion. So it's a very interesting thought. And then from there, it gets a little bit artsy, and you don't quite know what happens, because this part is not literal at all. But I'll just explain what happens, and then what I believe is the meaning of it. So she ends up throwing herself over the edge, or maybe actually her best friend may have thrown her over. We don't actually see what happens. We see it from the POV of a car driving by, and we just see something hit the windshield, and they swerve, and then we see her on the road. So we don't know if she threw herself or if she got thrown, but regardless, she lands on the road, and then she stands up. So you're like, oh, she didn't die. But then she teleports from there back into the hospital and starts seeing a bunch of events flying by rapidly. People leaving the hospital that she knew, and then she sees her dad. So she died. In other words, she sees her dad, because he also was just dying. He's getting onto an elevator. Maybe that means he's going to heaven or hell, who knows? But he is leaving, and everything goes dark. And then a match is lit, and she turns and looks, there's a light and somebody reaching out their hand, and she grabs onto the hand, and then she has now taken place of that hand, and she is now one of the spirits that they're seeing, which was just a great ending. You know, you can kind of see it coming when you saw the person stick out the hand. I think they're trying to get you to think that there's something else going on. Like, for a split second, the thought did pop into my head that, oh, maybe that this is the hand of, they mentioned that the hand that they use was originally attached to like a medium or a witch or something, and so like, oh, this could be she's meeting the person behind the hand. So I did think that for a split second, but I was like, no, this is actually probably what it ended up being was she is now one of the spirits reaching from the other side, which was a really, like I said, good ending, thought-provoking ending. Really enjoyed it, really tied the movie together well, and made me actually enjoy the movie, which for a while there I wasn't sure that I was going to like it, because like I said, the scares weren't great. They weren't bad either, they just weren't great. The characters weren't likable, so it's like it's hard to get involved, get interested in when the characters aren't likable. And for a while it kind of felt like it was copying other things, especially Smile, so I was just like, I liked Smile more, not really into this. But then that ending was so powerful and so good that I was like, alright, you know what, I might actually like this more than Smile. I'm not positive, I'd have to watch this again, but I did like it. It's at least in the conversation. It is one of those movies that now I'm like, oh, I do want to show this to other people. I want to talk to people about this. I did enjoy this. So that's what I did think. What do you guys think though? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like, share. If you're new here, subscribe. Thanks guys. Bye.